In the previous session, we saw about what variables and data types are. Now we will first explore the numeric data types in detail. Numbers are of many types. They can be integers, that is your positive or negative numbers, floating point numbers, which have the integer and the decimal parts, and complex numbers that contain a real and an imaginary part, which you may have seen in your high school mathematics or in your electric circuits. We also have the binary, octal and hexadecimal representations. Long is a data type that is available only in Python 2. It is used to represent very large numbers. In Python 3, however, we don't have a separate long data type. So whatever number you use is included within the integer or float data types, even if it is long. Binary numbers consist of only the digits 0 and 1. It is a base 2 representation. And we have the base 8 representation, the octal number system, which contains the digits 0 to 7. Any number represented in octal can have only those digits. Hexadecimals are base 16 representations. They contain the digits 0 to 9 and alphabets A to F. I am not going to go into the details of them since you would have learnt about these number systems already in your schools, about what these numbers mean, how to convert from one system to another, etc. Even if you did not learn about those, don't worry, it is not necessary for this course. But even if you are curious, there is always plenty of books, or you can find so many explanations and examples on them in the internet. We have various number systems. We can represent your integers or floating point numbers easily and directly. But how do we represent these binary, octal or hexadecimal numbers in Python? The number 10 is 10 in integers, but its value is 2 in binary system. So how do we differentiate what it means? The answer is that we add a prefix to your numbers to denote that they belong to different bases. So for binary, we add a 0b before the number. For hexadecimals, we add a 0x in front. For octal, we use a 0o. So octal numbers have a difference in Python 2 and Python 3. So we can either use a 0 or a 0o, a 0 and a small o. But in Python 3, we can only use the prefix 0o. So let's see now on how to use them in code. So if you remember, I mentioned that anything with these round brackets is a function in Python. So there is an exception. We also use these brackets to represent a data type tuple, but we will look into it when we learn about them. So for now, just consider that anything with these round brackets is a function in Python. So we have a function called type in Python that tells you the data type of a given variable or value. So this is an integer. So it gives the output int, which denotes that this is an integer. And the next one is a binary number. So it is grouped into int, but explicitly it is a binary number. So as I mentioned, you need to add this 0b prefix to denote that it is binary. So can you guess the value of this number in the decimal system? So if you convert this from binary to decimal, you need to multiply the digits from the last in the order of powers of 2, since binary is a base 2 representation. So this would be 1 into 2 power 0, which is 1, plus 0 into 2 power 1, which is 0, and 1 into 2 power 1, which is 4. So this will be 4 plus 0 plus 1, that is 5. So you can directly get the value by just printing out the number. So you can just directly give the number and you will see the corresponding equivalent value. Again, since this is an interactive shell, there is no need to explicitly use the print function to display the output, but if you are using it in a script, you need to give this inside a print function. So can you see that I have typed something on the right over here? So they are called comments. Comments are words that you can type for your own reference. So even though they are part of the code, they are not read by the interpreter. So you can type out anything in that. so maybe hints or descriptions, explanations, etc. It is a good practice to use comments in a program so that anyone looking at your program can understand what is going on, or maybe sometimes it may help you too to understand what you have done when you look at your code after a long period of time, or if you use so many functions in your code that you need to keep track of what each function does. So in those cases you can use comments to write descriptions or hints, whatever that might help you out to understand what is actually happening in the program. So this hash symbol represents a single line comment. So if you don't type anything, it just stays as the code, but if you use this hash, you can type out your comment. You cannot type more than one line in your program when you use hash, so this is only used for single line comments. But if you used to type, if you need to type more than one lines, you can use triple single quotes. So anything you type within these triple single quotes is a multi-line comment. So these comments are ignored by your interpreter while running the program. So you can type any number of lines within these triple single quotes. Okay, so then similar to binary, we have the octal number and the hexadecimal numbers. So you have this 0O prefix for octal and the 0x prefix for your hexadecimals. So let's just check it their corresponding values. It is 0O12. So the corresponding value of this particular octal number in your decimal system is 10, and similarly the value of this number in your hexadecimal is the same as the number 18 in your decimal system. Complex numbers are represented using the A plus BJ form. So the first part is called the real part and the second part is called the imaginary part. And then we have your, you can just check out the type, it will show you that it is a complex number. And we have your floating numbers, that is which are nothing but the numbers with decimal point system. We have 3.2, which is a float. They can be positive as well as negative in float numbers. So you can even have minus, it doesn't make a difference. And then one thing that I would like to mention is that in Python we can convert one data type into another if they are compatible. So if you need the integer values of other data types, you can use the int function to convert. So as you can see, again, this is a function. So when you use this int function, this particular value is converted into an integer and the output is shown to us. Similarly, you can use it for all these numbers. So everything, you can see the hexadecimal or float, octal numbers, everything gets converted into integer. And similarly, we can use a float function to convert an integer into float. So float of 4 will give us 4.0. So this particular conversion is called type casting or type conversion in general. And then for scientific representations, we use the letter small e. Okay, so this small e stands for, you can say, to the power. So 5.6 E2 means 5.6 into 10 power. Sorry, it's not into the power, it is into 10 power something. So 5.6 E2 means 5.6 into 10 power 2. So this will give 5.6 into 10 power 2 is 100. So 5.6 into 100, that is 560. Likewise, 10 E4 means 10 into 10 power 4. So this E is into 10 power. So 10 into 10 power 4, which is 10,000. Oh sorry, 10 into 10 power 4, right? So that is 10 into 10,000, which will give you 1 lakh. So always scientific notations are given in this form. So we have 5.6 into 10 power something. So this kind of notation where you use, actually I am using this word power to represent the exponential form. So you can also do it like this. So we use this notation within the numbers where the small e means into 10 power. So type function can be applied to these two. So if you turn it, as I said, scientific representations are always floating point numbers. So type of that is float. So now that you have an understanding of numeric data types, we can move on to try using various operators that can be used on these numbers. Operators are used to perform calculations or operations on variables. They are of many types. Operators that perform upon only one variable are called unary operators. The operators that perform upon two variables are known as binary operators. On three variables are known as ternary operators. The variable on which the operation is performed is called the operand. So let me just mention it over here. It is operand. So they are the variables on which any operation is performed. So depending upon the number of operands, the list goes on. We have quaternary for 4, pentanary for 5, hexanary for 6, and so on. But most operators fall under unary or binary categories. So first we will see what we are all most familiar with, the arithmetic operators. So these are your common mathematical operations like addition, subtraction, exponentiation, etc. So for our examples, I am declaring two variables a and b with values 10 and 3 respectively. Variable initiations are also known as variable declarations. So back in my previous videos, while explaining about the Jupyter notebooks, I mentioned that when you use a variable, its value will remain the same throughout the program until and unless you change the value separately. So the value of a and b will be 10 and 3 anywhere you access it in the program until and unless we assign a different value to it. So a plus b is addition. Then we have the subtraction. So as you can see, we are not updating the values of a and b anywhere. We are just using these values and performing the operation. So here it is 10 plus 3, 13. Then the same values of a and b, 10 minus 3, which is 7. And then we have the multiplication and division. Okay, when we use division, we have two kinds of divisions that are possible in Python. One is the normal division and the other is the integer division. So normal division gives the exact decimal value when you divide, but integer division only gives the integer part. So when we divide it, which is a is 10 and b is 3. So in normal division, 10 by 3 gives you 3.33, but integer division only gives you the integer part. So it leaves out whatever comes after the decimal point. Use a single slash for normal division and double slash for integer division. This is another difference in Python 2 and 3. There are no separate concepts of normal and integer division in Python 2. So whenever you divide two integers, the result is always an integer. If I had run this in Python 2, the answer will only be 3 and not 3.33. So if we need the decimals too, then we need to convert the type ourselves. So I probably would have to give something like this: float of a by b. So I have to manually convert the type in Python 2, but in Python 3 it is automatic. So this is one of the differences in Python 2 and Python 3. So next we look at the exponents. So we use a double star or double asterisk to denote exponentiation. So a star star b, this means a power b. Okay, So it is A is 10 and B is 3. So 10 to the power 3 is 1000. Then we have the modulo operator, which gives the remainder when A is divided by B. So when we divide 10 by 3, the remainder is 1, right? So 3 into 3 is 9, so the remainder is 1. So your modulo operator returns the remainder part. And when using modulo operator, you need to be careful. When the first operand is bigger than the second one, then we get the remainder that is obtained when this number is divided by the second number, okay, which is what we saw now. But if the first operand is smaller than the second one, then we get the number itself. Okay, and one of the advantages in Python that we saw is that there is no need to mention the data type explicitly when declaring a variable. So likewise, there is no need to typecast manually. Python automatically converts the types of data types if it finds them compatible. You can operate on a float and an int together. The result will be a float number. So here we have 5.6, which is a float, and 2, which is an int. But when you add 5.6 and 2, you get 7.6, which is a float. So Python automatically converts the number when it finds that these two numbers are compatible. So it same applies for division or any kind of arithmetic operation, and it applies to negative numbers too, as you can see. And also you can do integer division where typecasting is automatic. So here we are dividing int by int, so the result is an integer. Here we are dividing a float by an int, so the result is a float. So these are the common arithmetic operations that we use in Python. Next we have the comparison operators. So as the name suggests, they compare the operands. So if we use comparison operators, the answer is either true or false, depending upon if the comparison is correct or wrong. So true and false are the two values of Boolean data type. So double equal to in Python checks if the value of two variables is same. So if you use a single equal to, that assigns the value of B to A, but when you use double equal to, it compares the values of A and B. So you have to make sure you remember this difference, because most of the programmers who begin get confused in this, and often they change this double equal to and single equal to representation. So be careful with that. So here we have A double equal to B. Since A was 10 and B was 3, so 10 is not equal to 3, so the result is false. So as I told you, the result of a comparison is always true or false. So if they are equal, the answer is true, and if they are different, the answer is false. We can also compare variables using the greater than and lesser than operators. So okay, this is not equal to representation in Python. So an exclamatory and equal to means not. So this is the symbol for not. So A not equal to B. Again 10 is not equal to 3, which is true. So you get the true output. Then we have the greater than. So 10 greater than 3 is true. Then we have the lesser than operator. 10 less than 3 is false. Then greater than or equal to. And then we have the less than or equal to. So these are the comparison operators that are available in Python. Next we look at the assignment operator. So we refer to this equal to, the single equal to sign, as the assignment operator, because it assigns some value to a variable. So when you use it, the value of the right hand side is stored to the left hand side. So let us check once what are the current values of A and B. So it is 10 and 3. So far we have just been using A and B to perform different operations, but we have not modified the values in them. So A and B remains 10 and 3 respectively. Say we need to update the value of A by adding the number, adding some number to a and storing it in a itself. That is something like a equal to a plus 2. So you are adding a number to a and storing the value in a itself. So in such cases we can do it in this way. That is, you can rewrite a equal to a plus 2 in this form, a plus equal to 2. So this is called a shorthand notation, which is the same thing as a equal to a plus 2. So check the value of a now after running this. It is 12. So since a was 10 and we added 2 to it, so the result was 12, and that 12 got assigned to a, right? So shorthand notation can be applied to any arithmetic operator. So subtraction, multiplication, division, or even raising to powers. So now we have subtraction. So before a value was 12, which we updated over here, then a minus equal to 2 is nothing but a equal to a minus 2. So you subtract 2 from a and store that value in a itself. So from 12 minus 2 is 10, you store 10 in a, so the result is 10. Now next we have multiplication. So you see that we have been updating the value of a at every stage, and this updated value is used in the next task. So here for multiplication, the current value was 10, so 10 into 2 is 20. So the current value of a now is 20. So we are storing all the results in a itself. Then we have division. So this is nothing but 20 by 2, which is 10. And then we have the power or exponentiation. So a got changed to 10 over here. So 10 power 2 is 100, right? And Python also provides an easy way to declare multiple variables in a single line. So it can be given like this: a comma b equal to 2 comma 5. So what happens here is that variables get the value of the corresponding positions before and after the equal to. So 2 gets assigned to a and 5 gets assigned to b. So this is the same as writing a equal to 2 and b equal to 5. So you can combine these two and write it together this way. So a comma b equal to 2 comma 5. So this is called variable unpacking in Python. So unpacking can be done for any number of variables as long as the number of items is same on both sides. So if I run this, now a has 2 and b has 5. So you can just verify it by printing the values. The operators consist of is and is not. So they are similar to your comparison equal to. They check if an object is the same as another. So a is b. So now at this point we change the values of a and b in the previous step. So a is 2 and b is 5. So a is b, 2 is 5, which is false, right? So we get the output as false. And then we have 3 is 0b 101. So this numerical representation is the this binary representation is the same as the decimal representation of 3, right? 101 is nothing but 3 in decimals. So 3 is 3, that is true. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I made a mistake. 101 is actually 5, not 3, right? 3 is 011. So 101 is 5, so 3 is 5 is false. Okay, it's there in the next step. So 3 is 0b011. As I said, 011 stands for 3. So this is true. 3 is 3. And what about a is not 5? So as I said, identity operator consists of is and is not. So a is not 5. A's value is 2. So 2 is not 5 is true. So you get the output as true. Next we will have a look at the logical operators. So logical operators give a boolean result as output. The expression is evaluated, and just like the comparison operators, we get either true or false depending upon the result. Okay, it is very essential to understand comparison and logical operators. because they are really important in changing or controlling the flow of your program. The sequence or order in which the various elements of your program execute depend on the true and false values we get when an expression is evaluated. So when we learn about conditionals in the later sessions, you will understand what I mean. So these three, and, or, and not, are known as the logical operators. We call this table as the truth table. It shows the possibilities of outputs depending upon the values of the given inputs. So when relating with numbers programmatically, we can think of it like this. So 0 is considered as a false value and any non-zero number is considered as a true value. So not operator is the simplest logical operator. It returns the opposite of your input. So as you can see, here we have A and not A. So if A is false, not A is true. If A is true, not A is false. So if your input is true, it returns or gives false as the output, and if your input is false, the output is true. When you use an AND operator, the result is true only if all the input values are true. So you can see we have two variables. Let's assume two variables A and B, and this is the result of the operations A and B. See, false and false gives you false, false and true gives you false, true and false also gives you false, only true and true gives you true. So if only all input values are true, your total output is true. Even if one of the input is false, the output is always false. So you can see it clearly here. You can just refer it once again and understand what happens here. The OR operator does the opposite of AND. It gives true as the output if any one of the input is true. So again, for A and B, we have different possible scenarios, and this is the result of A or B. So false or false is false. So anywhere you see a true, the result is always true. So this is exactly opposite of AND, where if any one occurrence of false happens, the output is always false, and both are true, only then your output is true. But in OR, it is the opposite of AND. So any one occurrence of true is present in input, your output is true. Only if both inputs are false, then your output is false. Note that we talked about unary and binary operators, right? So note that NOT is a unary operator since it works on only one operand, and 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 OR are binary operators since they work on two operands. So even if you have more than two operands, when you keep simplifying the ANDs and ORs, we are only going to evaluate two operands each at a time. So remember the truth table very well. For now, understand how it works. As for why we need this, I just told you moments ago. It will be even more clear when we learn about conditionals. So first, let us check what the current values of A and B are. And while using your logical operator on numbers, always remember this thing: 0 is considered as false and any non-zero number is considered as true. So when you have numerical values here, you can directly relate with this and apply the corresponding operator and get the result. So just to be sure, just printed the values of A and B here, which are 2 and 5. So both are non-zero. So to demonstrate the various logical expressions, I am declaring a new variable C, which is 0. So we have non-zero numbers A and B and a zero number C. I told you that any non-zero number stands for true and 0 stands for false. So A and B can be considered as true values and C can be considered as a false value. So here in the first case, B and A stands for true and true. So the Boolean output in AND table when both are true is true. So here we will be having the output as true, but both A and B are true here, right? So which is the value that will be displayed in the output? Well, in the case of AND, if both values are true, the second value is displayed. That is, the most recent true value is displayed. So when the interpreter executes, I want you to listen carefully. When the interpreter executes, first it sees the value of B as true, then it sees the value of A as true, since both are non-zero. So it executes from left to right. So first is true and true. Now this is the most recent operand with true value that the interpreter encountered. So as I said, when both are non-zero and you have an AND operator, the most recent true is output. So in this case, A is the most recent true, so we get the value of A. As a shortcut, you can remember that if both values are true in an AND expression, the result will always be the second number. So we can check out the Boolean value of the expression using a bool function. So bool is the function which we can use to check the Boolean value. So bool of this B and A is true. So we used the numerical representations here. Now in terms of true false values, B is true, A is true, so true and true is true, which is what you get when you apply this Boolean function. Let's look at the next one. A is non-zero, but C is 0, which means A represents true and C represents false. So in AND, if any one input is false, the output is always false. So when you run it, we get the output of the false value. So here C is the false value, so you get the value of C, which is 0. And again, when you run the Boolean value of this output, it is false. So even if you change the order, so here we had A and C, now we are changing the order C and A. So even if you change the order, once there is a false value when using AND operator, the output is false. So now what happens if we have more than two operands? So let me just type out the current values of what these variables are for my reference. So C, A and B are 2 and 5. A is 2, C is 0 and B is 5. Okay. So what happens is, the interpreter reads from left to right. First, the output of this particular portion is calculated, that is for A and B. So the result of A and B, since both are non-zero, you get the second number as the output. So this will be the output of A and B, which is B. Now it checks for B and C. So B is true and C is false. So true and false. I mean, when I say true and false, I mean the corresponding Boolean relation to the non-zero number and zero numbers. Okay. So B is non-zero, which stands for true, and C is 0, which stands for false. So true and false, the result is false, so which is C. Okay, that is the output which we will be getting. Okay, and again, if you check the Boolean value, it is false. So you can see that even if there are other true values among multiple operands, as long as there is one false value, the result will always be false. We saw that when two values are true, the interpreter takes the second value. But what happens when both values are false? So in that case, it actually doesn't matter, because both values are actually zeros. So even if you don't know whether it will be the first or the second, the answer is anyways going to be 0, because 0 and 0 will be 0. So an AND operation returns the 0. So just for your demonstration, I am declaring another variable D is 0, and when you do C and D, which is 0 and 0, so your result is 0. Now let us look at the OR operator now. So if you have understood what AND does, OR is the exact opposite of AND. In AND, if any one value is false, the result is false. But in OR, if any one value is true, the result is true. If both are true, the result is the first number. If both are false, the answer is going to be 0. So if it sounds confusing, don't worry, just remember this particular table. See what conditions we get false, what conditions we get true for and or. I mean, if you remember for any one thing, the other is the opposite of this. So you can just remember either and, or you can remember or. It is better if you remember both, but you need to make sure you get this truth table right, and also remember this particular relation. So 0 is considered as false and any non-zero is considered as true. So as long as you are clear with these two and the truth table, you can evaluate any logical expression. So now I'll just demonstrate a few of the OR conditions. Okay. First we have A or B, and once again let me just print A and B. So A is 2 and B is 5. So 2 or 2, that is a non-zero number or a non-zero number, which means true or true. And as I said, in OR, if any one value is true, the result is always true. So here we have true or true. So the answer will be the first number. As I said, it is opposite of false, opposite of AND. So in AND, when both were false, we got the second number. In OR, when both are true, we get the first number. So the Boolean value of this non-zero number is true. Similarly, we have A or C. So we have a non-zero number or 0, that is true or false. And once again, as long as there is one true, the result will always be true when we use OR. So this will give the true value of the variable. So if you use the Boolean, it is going to be true. Similarly, C represents false, B represents true. Again we have one instance of true, so the result will be this particular truth value. And again, this is again the same thing as with AND. Start from left to right. First evaluate these two first, get the result, then evaluate that particular result with the remaining portion. So A or C is going to be A. Then A or B, both are non-zeros, so you take the first number. So your answer for the entire thing will be the value of A. Okay, now C is 0, D is 0. So 0 or 0 is going to be 0 because both are false. Again, false or false is false. So you get 0 as the output. Then we have the NOT operator, which basically gives you the opposite of your input. So if the input is true, the output is false. If the input is false, the output is true. So not 0 is going to be true because 0 stands for false, so not false is true. And any non-zero number stands for true, so not true is going to be false. And as I said, any non-zero number, which also means negative numbers, so this also stands for true, so not true is going to be false. So these are the most commonly used operators on numbers in Python. We also have a separate type of operators called the bitwise operators. They are mostly used while programming hardware. You don't need to actually know about them in detail, so you don't actually encounter them usually. So I am not going to explain them in detail, but I'll just tell you briefly on what they are. So what bitwise operators do is that they perform operations on the bits. They convert the input numbers to binary numbers and return the value in base 10. So what actually happens is, when you give two decimal numbers or a number system, they convert those two into binary numbers, and within that binary numbers they perform bitwise operation, that is digit-wise, digit in the 0th place versus the digit in the 0th place, digit in the first place versus digit in the first place. So that way they compare them and give you the output in your decimal. So as an example, I'll just tell you, we'll just look at bitwise AND. Okay, so if you take two numbers 5 and 7 and perform bitwise AND between them, first you get the binary representation of those two numbers, and then since this is a bitwise AND, you perform AND digitwise. So 1 and 1, so this one and this one, the output is 1. So 0 and 1, your output is 0, and then 1 and 1, your output is 1. So this way, each digit wise you perform your AND and get your output. Then this particular output is converted back into your decimal representation. So this is how bitwise operators work. Instead of performing operation on the total numbers, they convert them into binary and perform them bitwise. So you can, if you are interested, you can explore about this, but I'm not going to go into the details, since I told you before that we don't usually encounter them in your everyday common programs. So we have seen a lot of operators and how to use them on numbers. So, and what outputs we get. There were also cases where there were more than two operators within the same kinds. Like when we have multiple arithmetic operators, we generally use BODMAS or PEDMAS rule. First you evaluate the brackets, then the exponents, then division, multiplication, followed by addition and subtraction. And when there were multiple logical operators, like in this case, you evaluate from left to right, combine them in groups of 2 and calculate the output of the expression. But what happens, or what to do when there are multiple operators of various types present in the same expression? Like you have arithmetic, logical and comparison operators all together in the same single expression. In which order should we evaluate? So to avoid this confusion, we have an order of precedence for the operators. It is like a hierarchy where the priority for evaluation is given from top to bottom. So this is the order of precedence. Okay, see, for example, I'm just let me take this as values to demonstrate you with an example. So we have a comma b equal to 5 comma 2. So when I run it, a gets assigned 5 gets assigned to a and 2 gets assigned to b. Now normally how would you evaluate this in mathematics? First you evaluate the brackets, right? Whatever is within the brackets gets evaluated first. So this becomes, this is actually 5 plus 2 power 7 mod 2, right? So first this gets evaluated. So 7 mod 2, which is 1, right? Modulo gives you the remainder when the first number is divided by the second number. So when you divide 7 by 2, the remainder you get is 1. So this becomes into to the power 1, right? So this simplifies to this. Now we have addition and exponentiation. So by BODMAS rule or PEDMAS rule, first you calculate the powers or exponents. So this gets simplified to 5 plus 2. Because first you evaluate, this is nothing but 2 power 1, which is 2. So 5 plus 2. Now this result is 7. So this is how you will be evaluating or giving priority to the operators when you have multiple operators in the same expression. Now here I am showing you the order of precedence when multiple operators are present in the same expression. So first anything within the brackets is evaluated. After that it follows this particular order from top to bottom. So this is how the preference is given. So after brackets, the preference is given first to exponentiation, then to complement, then to your multiplication, division, modulo and integer division or float division. We call integer division as float division. So this is the order of precedence. After that only we execute your additions or subtractions, and followed by your bitwise operators. So all these three are bitwise operators. and then we have your comparison operator followed by your equality, and then your assignments, then your identities, memberships, and logical operators. So you need to remember this order of precedence because that will help you understand how the interpreter in what order the interpreter evaluates expressions, so that you don't get the wrong values by performing a different order of execution. Okay, so you need to remember this. You don't need to actually by heart this. Anyhow, first we know that brackets are evaluated, right? After that, you will know you have been learning BODMAS rule from your schools, so you will automatically remember that after brackets you get your exponentiation, then multiplication, division, and then addition, subtraction. So this is automatically registered in your mind already. And we, as I said, we don't usually use the bitwise operators, so you can ignore these. So all you need to remember is your comparison followed by your equality and then your identities, and at last you have your logical operators.
Quiz time, guys. You got a few minutes to think.
Here are a few practice questions that can help you out with what you have just learned. So there are 3 questions with subdivisions for the first 2. So in the first question, there are sample values given for variables. So these are your Boolean values. You have 4 variables A, B, C, and D with Boolean values for each of them. Now I want you to try out this expression first, evaluate it manually, and then run it yourself in the code and find out whether your prediction is exactly the same as the result you obtain when you run this particular expression. So don't try it out directly. First do it yourself and then find the answer. And again, in the second question is the same as first. The difference is instead of Boolean values, you have numerical values and other operators. It is a mixture of many operators. So you need to consider the order of precedence also while evaluating these expressions. Now on to the third question. Is there any difference between the identity operator is and the comparison operator equal to? So if you remember, let's go back to the identity and comparison operators. So in comparison operator, this double equal to checks whether the value on the left hand side and the value of on the right hand side are equal. Now let me just try this. Okay, so here we have 3 equal to 0b011. so 0b stands for binary, right? And 011 is the binary equivalent of the decimal number 3. Since they both are equal, that is 3 is the same as 3, we get the output as true. Similarly, in identity operator, you can see 3 is 0b011 also gives you true. So does this mean that they both are the same thing? So I'll just give you a hint, or I'll just tell it to you directly. They are not the same and there is a difference, but I want you to explore what is the difference between them. Okay, I purposefully did not explain you the difference when I was teaching about both those operators. So I want you to go ahead and search the internet or check out from books on Python on how they differ. So when you explore it yourselves, you will learn a lot of new stuff than just sticking to textbook teaching. And one more thing I would like to mention is, when you use these Boolean values in your programs, that is whenever you use true or false, always make sure that the first letter is an uppercase. So it has to be a capitalized word. Okay, so I have already told you one good indicator is the change of color. So whenever the color of the text changes, it means that it has some special meaning in Python. So this true and this false, they represent your Boolean values. However, if you just change the case, Python, as I have been repeating time and again, that Python is case sensitive. So if you use a different case, the meaning changes altogether. They just become some random strings. So always make sure when you use true and false, the first letter has to be a capital letter.
Time's up. Now evaluate yourself and keep listening.
Now let us check the solutions for these. The first question, so these are the sample values for our variables. So we have A, B, C, D as true, false, true, and again false. So this is the input values. Now let us take the first case, which is A and C or B and D. So if we go back to your operator precedence, as I said, first anything within brackets is evaluated. Since we don't have any brackets in this case, so it is fine. So we can just need to check out here, and again we are only using AND OR operators, so we are only going through logical operators. So in that, first AND is executed followed by OR, and then NOT is executed at the last. If we go back here, first AND is executed, right? So A and C, which is true and true, so the answer is true. And then we have another AND over here, so B and D, it is false and false, so it is false. Now we have true or false. If you look at the truth table, true or false, that is A or B, where true or false is true, right? As you know, in OR, even if one value is true, then the output is going to be true. So the entire result of this expression is true. Let's go to the second case. A and B or C and not D. So again, we don't have any brackets, we only have AND, OR and NOT. So first AND OR executed, as in like first A and B. So A is true and B is false. True and false is false. Then we have another AND over here. So C and here we don't have an operator, right? So what happens is this NOT D first gets executed. So not D is false, so not D is true. Now we have an operand over here, so C and true will be executed. C and true is, C is true, right? So true and true is going to be true, and then false or true is true. So your final result is true. And the third case, so here we have brackets, so first brackets are executed, so B and C, that is false and true. So this is false, right? So this bracket has finished executing. So now we have another bracket, and when we have multiple brackets, the innermost gets executed first, and after that it goes from inside out. So first the innermost expression was this, which we have reduced to false, and now we have A or false. A is true, so true or false is going to be true, and then we have true or not D. So again, here we don't have an operand, so first this not D is simplified, not D is true, so true or true is going to be true. So your final answer is true, right? So this is the solution for the first question. Now moving on to the second. Please give the input values. A is 10, B is 2.0 and C is -3, right? First case. a plus b mod c. So we have brackets, so a plus b, 10 plus 2.0. As I said, Python automatically converts your data types if they are compatible. So integer plus float will give you a float. So 10 plus 2.0 is 12.0. Now mod c is minus 3. So how do you actually evaluate this? So don't get confused by these decimal points or your negative numbers. This is exactly as you normally do your modulo. See, 12 mod 3 is what happens when you divide 12 by 3. You don't have a remainder. The remainder is actually 0. So your answer will be 0. But when you have a negative sign, Python just shows you that negative sign too. So it shows you as 0 minus 0. And since it is float divided by int, float mod int, as I said, float and int will give you a float. So it shows it as minus 0.0. So what if it had been some other number, say 5? In that case, 12 mod 5. So when you divide 12 by 5, the remainder is 2, right? So the answer will be minus, Okay, it appears there is a difference in the definition when it comes to negative numbers. Say had it been positive 5, then just like always, so 12 when you divide by 5, the remainder you obtain is 2. So you should get 2, right? So when it comes to negative numbers, so there is, if you go to Wikipedia on modulo operation, they have set of formulas or definitions regarding modulo operator when when the numbers are positive or negative. So if you are interested, you can go through it. Right now we are focusing on how operators are evaluated and how the order of precedence takes place. So right now the mathematics is not of importance at this point. So just move on to the next one, which is b into 2 less than or equal to b or c minus a. So here we have a mixture of various types of operators. So let us just go back. So first identify what are the types of operators that are used in this expression. So we have we have multiplication, comparison, logical, and again subtraction, which is an arithmetic operator. So we have arithmetic, comparison, and logical operators. So if you see the order of precedence, first we have the arithmetic operators, and within that we have multiplication and then subtraction, which is followed by comparison operator, and logical operators are the lastly evaluated. So first evaluate your arithmetic expressions, arithmetic operators. So we don't have any brackets, so we can directly evaluate this. So value of b is 2.0, so 2.0 into 2 is 4.0, and we have less than or equal to, then we have b again. Now we have or and minus, and we know arithmetic takes precedence over your logical operator. So this will first remain the same, and this gets executed first. C minus a, that is minus 3 minus a, that is minus 3 minus 10 is minus 13. So this will be minus 13. Okay, so now we have two. One is comparison, other is the logical. So among comparison and logical, first comparison takes precedence since it is on the top than logical operators. So first evaluate this. Is 4 less than or equal to b? So b is 2.0. So 4.0 less than or equal to 2.0 is false. The result of a boolean the result of comparison operator is always either true or false. So this is 4.0 and b is 2.0. So 4.0 less than or equal to 2.0 is false. So now this is your expression. Now what happens here? as you can see, false or minus 13. So as I said, any non-zero number is a representation of true. So it is false or true, and this is OR operator. So even if any one value is true, you get the output as true. So among these two, the true value was minus 13. So we get minus 13 as the total output. So for this entire expression, minus 13 is your output. Now let's move on to the next. So again, so here we don't have any brackets. So you just need to directly see the precedences. We have exponent, that is double star is exponent. Then you have comparison, logical. We have another arithmetic, and then another logical, right? So first exponentiation is done. So b is 2.0, right? First is exponentiation, so b power 2 is 2.0 power 2, that is 4.0 less than or equal to, and b is 2.0 or c is minus 3, and then we have minus not a, so a is again 10. Right? So we are held up with an issue. As you can see, we have comparison operator, logical operator, and arithmetic operator, and again once again a logical operator, right? So among these, your arithmetic operator minus takes the highest precedence. So if you look at this part, you have minus 3 minus not 10. So here we don't have an operand directly. So what happens is, this not 10 is evaluated first. So 10 will be equivalent to true, right? So not 10 will be false. Now you know that your arithmetic operator is going to execute first, but if you see here, you have minus 3 and minus false. So it is not possible to actually subtract false from right? In the previous cases, you are just comparing the values. You are comparing the equivalent values of whether it was true or false using the non-zero and zero representations. But here you are directly performing some calculation over the number, so which is not possible. Hence this will give you an error. So if you look at this, I think this was the question, right? Yeah. So now if I run it, as you can see, it shows invalid syntax, and if you observe, you can see it even indicates where that syntax error is. So the syntax error happens over here, right? So which means you don't have an answer for this, it will just generate an error. Okay, so the next one, so this is your next expression. So we have 10 plus, again b is 2.0, right? Power in 7 mod 2. You have brackets over here, so this gets executed first. 7 mod 2 is 1, right? So when you divide 7 by 2, you get the remainder as 1, and you have equal to, then you have 2a. So 2a basically is 2 into a, right? So that is 20, again minus 10 by b is 2.0 plus 1. So this is the when you substitute your variables with your numerical values, this is the expression you get. And among this, so you have arithmetic and comparison. So your arithmetic takes precedence over your comparison. You can see your arithmetic calculations take precedence over your comparison. So you need to evaluate the arithmetics first and leave the comparison for the last. So in arithmetics, you can see first is the exponentiation, then you have the integer division, after that you have your additions and subtractions, right? So first is your exponentiation, that is 2.0 to the power 1 is nothing but 2.0. Anything raised to the power 1 is the same number, right? Then we have your floor division, that is your integer division. So 10, when you divide by 2, you have 5, but since it was int by float, you get a float as the result. Now it is all just addition and subtraction, so you can directly do it. So this is nothing but 12.0 equal to 20 minus 5 is 15.0 plus 1, which is going to be 16, right? So 20 minus 5 is 15 plus 1 is 16, and again you have a float among your int, so your final result will be float. Now check 12.0 equal to 16.0. So what comparison operator does is checks whether the left hand side is equal to the right hand side. If they are equal, it returns true. If they are not equal, it returns false, right? So what is the answer for this? It is going to be false. So the value of this entire expression okay, my mistake, this is supposed to be 2 into a, right? So your answer is false. And then the last one, so if you look at the last one, it is almost the same as this half, and you just have this extra part, right? So all you need to do is take the answer and do this. So if I run the output, so we know this was false, right? So we can replace this particular portion with false and then add just the extra portion, and your output is true. Now if you give this entire expression, will the output be true or will it be false? So we have deduced here that it was true, right? So the output should be true, but actually it is false because I just wanted you to make note of something. So at this step we had this, right? So this is comparison and this is also comparison. So if you look at the order of precedence even within the comparison operators, so we have the equality operators below your greater than less than symbols, right? So what actually happens is this takes precedence over this. So when we come to the problem, you don't actually do this part first. What actually happens is this gets executed first. So 16 is less than or equal to 10. Now this is false, right? Now if you run, now you see that 12 is not equal to false, so that is false, and so your entire expression becomes false. So I just explicitly gave this problem with the comparison to change the order of precedence with this equal to. I hope this is clear now. So all you need to do is first evaluate your brackets, then follow this exact table, and you will be fine with how to evaluate expressions. Now on to the last question. So the difference between is and equal to. Okay, this is really important because just this mistake might affect the complete program in case you are using this particular condition to change the flow of program. So know that okay, well, while I was explaining, I mentioned that double equal to checks for the equality of the variables and is operator checks if two objects are the same. So if you have listened properly, again let me tell you, equal to checks for the value of the objects if they are same, and is checks for if the objects are the same. What I mean by that is, let's say I have something like a equal to 1000, fine, and then I have b equal to 10 power 3. Okay, so we have two variables a and b. The value of a is 1000 and the value of b is 10 power 3, which is nothing but 1000. So if I check for a equal to b, what it does is it checks if the value of a and b are equal. So they are equal because both of them equal to 1000. But if you use is operator, what it checks for is whether a is the same as b, that is if a itself is b, not the value of a but the object itself. So when I gave a is b, it shows false. Okay, so this is the difference between comparison equal to and is operator. Okay, so equal to checks if the values of the objects are same, is checks if the object itself are the same.